And a warm welcome to everyone in the room for joining this webinar. And the intended outcomes of today's session is that you walk away with a clear mental model for what good discovery looks like and know where AI accelerates discovery and where it could cause you to fall into a trap, and then receive a playbook for going from problem, a customer problem, something that's painful to the customer or end user, to go into a prototype in a matter of minutes using AI. All right, let's talk about why product discovery matters more than ever. So product discovery, what is it all about? Product discovery is about this pretty straightforward question. Will the stuff we're working on be successful? So probably earlier today or yesterday, you had a conversation with a team member about something to build. And that conversation or that context might have given you some uncomfort in your stomach. Are you really sure that the stuff that you're thinking about developing is going to be successful? And what does success mean to you and your team? Success means creating value for the user, solving their problems, making stakeholders happy, making sure that we deliver something that's worthwhile. And too often, we're unsuccessful in the way we build products. And the statistics are quite bleak. So the sad truth is that most of the stuff we make actually fail. And let's just showcase a few statistics. So 95% of new products fail according to Harvard Business School. So they analyze 30,000 products that are launched every year, relating to a set of criteria, such as return on investment and so on. And MIT did a research study a while back on generative AI pilots. So companies applying generative AI in their organizations. And then 95% of them don't deliver value. And Pendo, a software as a service in the analytics space, did a research study and found that 80% of features that are built in products, in digital products, are rarely or never used. So it's this Pareto principle or 80-20 rule when it comes to the stuff that we create. So the essence is that our track record is not that great. So everyone in the room, what can we do to address this? How can we increase our chances of being more successful and luckier in our product discovery efforts? What can we do when we go to work every day? How do we make sure that the meeting that we're in or the customers that we're talking to or the prototypes that we create, that they're actually creating value, that we're becoming more successful? And our thesis is that you do this by testing things, experimenting, learning. And there's this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was released a few years ago. But the fundamental thesis of that book is that if you become a little bit better every day, you become 37x better in 1 year. So if you want to run a marathon, how do you start if you want to run a marathon? You don't start by going out and running 42 kilometers in 1 day. You start by running 1 kilometer and then 2 kilometers and then 3 kilometers. And that's the idea of product discovery and how to work better with product discovery, is that you need to have faster feedback loops to your customers, testing and learning and tweaking and debating and doing that often rather than doing that every 3 months. And the fundamental question in product discovery is this: are we building the right product? And do we have data to support answering that question? And in the beginning, we asked the question of how often do you get feedback, whether you're building the right thing? And some companies, they get feedback every year, once a year, if they're building the right thing. But some of you get feedback if you're building the right thing in days. But how can you increase that even more? And just to talk about time and failure. So this is a visual from Alberto Savoia, who's written the book, The Right It, which is a fantastic read on product discovery and validating ideas. You have failure pain level on the left-hand side, and then you have time and how much time costs being a product team. So if you're working in the minutes, hours, days, or maybe even weeks, you're in the experiment space. But if you start to move into months and years, it's becoming more of a disappointment and a failure. And a company I worked with, we did an analysis of a recent launch, and we found out that they'd been working on a particular product for 8.5 years for a market. And they launched that product, and it was a failure. So they didn't work 8.5 years on developing the product. Maybe it was a year and a half or 2 years of a couple of product teams. But yet, it was it was a failure because they spent so much time and effort creating the wrong thing. And how many times did they actually test their assumptions, their hypothesis on customers in 8.5 years? They did that 3 times. This happens. It's 2026 and it still happens, folks. It's about speeding up the feedback loops and working on two modes of product development: discovery, figuring out the right thing to build, and then delivery, building it to get feedback. And in discovery, we mainly work with prototypes and we tackle product risks, which I'll talk about in a second. And in the delivery, we build things. We don't build for years or months. We build something that's small and we get feedback. And the difference between discovery and delivery is that in discovery, we build to learn in the form of prototypes. And in delivery, we build to earn. So that's when we capture value. That's something where we're creating something that's scalable, that's secure, that's performant, that's compliant. And the rigor that goes into scalable engineering. And let's talk about the product risks. So you have a risk, a big risk when you're working in product discovery, that you're building the wrong thing. And there are 4 types of risks from the user, business, and technology side. So user side of things, it's a risk that you're creating something that's not usable to users and customers. They can't figure out how to navigate or do the stuff that they want to do. And from the business angle, viability, that it doesn't work for the various stakeholders surrounding your team. It doesn't work for customer service or marketing or sales. Sales can't sell it, or marketing can't market the product. It needs to be something that fits into their reality as well. And then technology, feasibility. You're building something that's feasible in the short term, but is it feasible to build in the long term, relating to your current tech stack and the tech debt that you already have? And in the middle, that's the sweet spot, value. Are we creating something that's valuable? Is there a risk that the stuff we're creating means that the users or the customers are not opening their wallets or not wanting to switch to your feature? And Hillary Gridley said this a while back: it's never been easier to build now with AI, which means it's never been easier to run 10 times in the wrong direction. Right? So we have the speed that you talked about in Mentimeter, but the speed could mean that we run in the wrong direction. And the fundamental purpose of product discovery is that you learn as much as possible whether you're building the right thing or not, and you do that cheaply and fast. So you're in the experiment space, not over here. And this could be helpful to you to think about: what's your job? So a few are product managers in the room, a few designers, some are leaders. But what's your job? Your job is to create outcomes, results, happier customers, happier business. In order to do that, you need to understand the problems of your customers, of your users, understand their data, how are they navigating, what are their journeys. And then you need to come up with solution ideas, many different ideas. And we have a bad track record, so we need to test many of them to see which ideas are the best. So let's have the best ideas win. And when you validate an idea, what do? You build and deliver that solution. And then you confirm through analytics or talking to customers or getting feedback from customer support whether you've actually solved that problem. So with AI, we can speed up this loop. When I started in my career 20 years ago, it took a long time to understand the problem, understand the data, generating solution ideas and validating ideas and so on. We have the opportunity now to close this loop in a matter of hours or days rather than weeks or months, which is a fantastic moment and a fantastic opportunity. But there's a problem when it comes to AI. Also an opportunity, right? So Peter Yang said, my wife is a principal engineer whose org recently got access to Claude Code. She said it's made her life worse since she's now got 10x the number of pull requests to review from her peers. So the bottleneck is not engineering anymore. So where's the bottleneck? The bottleneck is discovery, figuring out the right thing to build. It's discovery, right? Because the cost of producing software is going down. It will be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. It will become a commodity. But what will not become a commodity are great ideas, empathizing with customers, figuring out the right thing to build together with your peers and your team. So the question is, how can you use AI to increase the odds of success and avoid potential pitfalls? So let's dive into that. So the opportunities and the traps using AI. And the first opportunity and the trap is relating to these routes. So you have the easy route and the hard route when using AI. So the easy route is that let's have AI generate insights about our customers. And there are tools out there called synthetic users, which is nonsense, right? Your job is to empathize with customers, real customers, to understand their needs and the pain points. So you can come up with good ideas on how to solve those problems. So the hard route is let's talk to 10 customers, but use AI to sharpen our thinking. How can we use AI to become smarter and better decision makers? And here are some opportunities relating to that. And there are plenty of opportunities relating to use cases and how we can use AI in product discovery. You can do market research, visualize user journeys, data analysis, designing experiments, idea generation, prototyping. The sky's the limit. You have such opportunity to leverage this amazing technology. You can use it as a thinking partner. So if we go back and think about the outcome loop, how can we use AI when we're going through this outcome loop? We can use AI to understand the problem. We have a hunch that problem X is valuable for user segment. Imagine you're Steve Portugal, who's written a bunch of great books about user research. Help me design a research plan. How would you recruit suitable participants? What screening criteria matter? Draft an interview guide, etc. Or understanding data. Here's our current report on feature usage. Help me analyze this through the lens of user outcomes. Where do you see drop-offs or friction that suggest users aren't achieving their goal? And generating solution ideas, validating ideas, build and deliver the solution, and confirm problem solve. We can leverage AI at every step of the loop. You can go from novice to intermediate so fast. And in Mentimeter, you talked about the word efficiency. And AI is wonderful at removing the boring or mundane parts in product discovery or product development in general and making us more effective. So we spend more time on the stuff that matters, and AI sharpens or augments our thinking. So we can empathize with users and customers and collaborate to come up with the right thing to build. Another trap, the revenge of the asshole. So what I'm sensing, what we're seeing in organizations that are applying AI is that folks who had great ideas a couple of years ago or a few months ago, they start vibe coding. And they create vibe code prototypes that they share with teams and say, now you got to build my amazing idea. And they previously didn't have the opportunity to actually visualize those ideas, but now they're doing things themselves and pushing it through to product development. You should just listen to me. I have the great ideas. So that's a big trap. What are the opportunities relating to that? I mean, a PM can prototype an idea to make something more tangible, to get feedback on an idea. Or a designer can simulate a data model and talk to an engineer about that particular situation. You talked about this, Alex, before. Features. We can create a lot of features with AI, but what could be the result of that? Featureitis. And this visual from 𝘬𝘧𝘰𝘯𝘴𝘵 is more than 20 years old, but it's more relevant than ever. So you have user happiness, and then you have number of features. And let's play the tape. Nice, but I wish I could do more. I'm so glad they added this. Or cool, I rule. And then you have the happy user peak, and then guess I better look at the manual. Hey, where the crap did they put that? Now I can't even do the one simple thing I bought this for. And then I suck. So what are the opportunities relating to this? So if you can create a lot of different features now, what are the opportunities to avoid this trap? You can kill bad ideas faster and cheaper. You can be this editor or curator of the user experience. So when you add something, you remove something to make sure that you keep the simplicity of the interface so users and customers can navigate with ease. Because what makes a great product? What makes a great product, everybody? Think about the last time you experienced a great product. It solved an important problem, right? It had attention to detail. It surprised you. It delighted you. And it was straightforward to use, and it was elegant. That's the craft of product. Don't forget that with AI, right? Keep that in mind. You have craftsmanship. You're a product creator. Harness that. The next trap, let's talk about this. You trust the AI because it sounds so smart and elaborate. So you have these polished answers to all your questions. But underneath, you have missing data or zero customer conversations or guesses. So how can you avoid this? And this, AI is not accountable. You are. The PM, the designer, the engineer, you're accountable. So the opportunities, use AI as a sparring partner, but ask, what am I missing? Please challenge me, roast my ideas, or ask the AI to do a pre-mortem. A pre-mortem is the flip side of a post-mortem. What are the risks involved? Imagine this idea failing. Surface the stuff that could break. So you can move the stuff that's beneath the surface above the surface. And the last trap I want to talk about, you fall in love with the first solution. So you use magic patterns, you create a prototype, and you fall in love with that prototype, and you just go into delivery and develop it. And what happens? You fail. And you fail because you have these biases. You've come up with something that you're really proud of, and you're not susceptible to feedback. So what can you do? What are the opportunities? Spark more ideas. Give me 10 different ways to solve this problem, or ask the AI to bring you back to the actual problem that you're solving. And the technique that could help you in your journey working with product discovery is this AI-powered product discovery canvas, which you'll have here. I'll paste that in the chat in a moment. It's a canvas that you can fill in with your team to connect the customer, their problems, how you make money from solving those problems, solution ideas, experiments, and then a vibe coding prompt. So the first step is clarify your target customer or user. Who are you helping? Uncover and refine their top 3 problems. What are the key problems you want to solve for these users and customers? And then you have potential prompts to help you refine your problems and your idea of the customer. And then estimate the potential monetary value of solving those problems. Put some swags together. Ideas, guesses on how much value you could create by solving those problems. So cost savings, annual support hours times support salary times an estimated percentage improvement, or upselling total current customers, an estimated percentage upgrade, and an upsell price. So you can put a number to the problems that you're solving. And then number 4, have a hypothesis, something that you can test. We believe that this customer have the problem and need of X, and that providing this will result in this. And then write down some product risks relating to that hypothesis. And then lastly, create a vibe prototyping prompt, something that you could put into Magic Patterns or other tools to give a good context and get good output from the AI. And now let's turn to Alex to talk about how we can create prototypes using Magic Patterns. So over to you, Alex.
Marcus, thanks so much. Great to have everybody here. Again, it's great to see all the familiar faces and folks that I haven't met yet. My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder of Magic Patterns. Naturally, because I built the tool, we're going to use Magic Patterns as an example of sharing how to validate these prototypes, how you can use AI to speed up your work, everything that Marcus is talking about. But I hope what you can take away from this session is no matter what tool you're using, getting some ideas, on how to speed up your discovery. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I'm going to share my screen here. By the way, feel free to keep it totally casual and collaborative. If anybody has a question or anything, feel free to message in the chat. But okay, first, few just seconds here. Again, I know I recognize some customers on the call, but let's just talk about what is Magic Patterns for a second for those that are new here. So Magic Patterns helps you discover your next feature. We're an AI prototyping tool. We are specifically very focused on product teams. And so, here are some examples. And so we really focus on prototyping. Actually, what's kind of interesting is there's lots of other tools in the space. You may have heard of them: 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘯𝘓, Replit, Lovable, right? These vibe coding tools. What makes them a little different is you can add a backend, you can make an internal tool. And I encourage you, as a new AI tool comes out every 5 minutes, it feels like, right? As you think about all the new tools in the space, really try and figure out what are they focused on? Because I think when you start looking at certain feature sets, it really helps clarify, how can I actually use this tool in a workflow? And so the workflow that we're going to talk about today is validating customer ideas and your ideas and prototypes. So let's get into it. So when you log into Magic Patterns, you will see a screen like this. This is just the dashboard here. And I thought it would be fun. We can use an example, but also if someone wants to prompt something to life, I'm going to open this up to the crowd right now. Feel free to message in the chat, and don't worry, no pressure. If you don't come up with anything, I will just do what we have as a backup. But if anyone would like to see anything come to life or something somebody is working on, like a feature that they can share, feel free to tell me, and we can prompt it live here together. I'm going to leave about 10 seconds, but if not, we're going to just do the backup. Let's see, I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second. Oh, we have something in the chat. Oh, no, it's the Miro board. All right, I'm going to give it 10 seconds more if anyone wants to see anything live. Otherwise, I'm going to share my screen.
This is an amazing opportunity, everybody. So please jump in, and then we'll do it.
If not, here, I'm going to give people more time because let's do an example together. So what I made previous to this is a new landing page. So let's say I work either as a product ops person or a product manager, and we are making a new landing page. I actually made this in Magic Patterns, which is pretty cool. My prompt was pretty sophisticated. I actually saw it on Twitter, full disclosure. But pretty amazing what you can create these days, because this is a website under the hood. And that is a very important mental model, by the way, as we continue. Notice how this is just a website, right? And so just think about, because it's a website, what does that unlock? What can I do with it? We'll come back to this thought in a moment. But anyway, so let's say I'm a product manager, and I'm just working on our new landing page, or maybe it's a new feature, and here's what I have, right?
We got some ideas.
And so, oh yes, we do? Okay, wonderful. Here, I'll finish this example, and then we can hop into one directly. So let's get into this. So in this example here, you'll see here's my Magic Patterns instance where I just kind of prompted this to life here with my prompt. and we have this design. So here's what's very powerful, again, because this is simply a website under the hood, again, like very important mental model. When you are prompting these tools, really what's happening is it is reading and writing code, right? So actually, if you see my screen here, again, like I just prompted, hey, here's my landing page, bring this to life. But then this is all code under the hood. So then as a result, we just have a website, right? Because what are websites? Websites are just basically HTML and CSS code, right? So we have a website. And so a couple of things. So right here is how we can like get to our website URL that we were sharing earlier. And we can enable some features to get feedback from customers. So here's a very common workflow that I see. So if I go into this instance, and you'll see here's our like an integrations panel. And you'll see I've turned on this feedback collection. So let's do this from scratch here. So let's pretend it was off. This feedback collection allows me to like actually collect feedback, question and answers from customers. And so I very commonly see this as a way for folks to validate their ideas. So let me enable this here. And then I'm going to edit a question. You'll see because I turned this on previously, one of the questions I have is which CTA resonates most with you? Let's add another question here. Do you like the animations? Right, and let's go ahead and save that. And so you'll see now, when I go to that website URL that we were sharing earlier, I now have feedback enabled here at the bottom, right? And so then I can say, I like schedule a consult. And then next question, do you like the animations? They are okay, right? And then that'll go ahead and actually now store that feedback on the other side of my prototype, right? And so now when I go back here, I can go back to my feedback and obviously download those responses. And so it's pretty amazing, like at scale, what I've seen some customers do is, they're sharing this with many of their users, their customers, external stakeholders to collect feedback in that fashion. And I really love what Marcus said to really drive the point home. Earlier in his slides, his amazing drawings, he shared, don't outsource getting feedback to AI, right? From AI. The AI is not a consumer of this, right? I mean, especially something like a landing page. This is what humans need to resonate with, right? Are they going to decide to use your product? And so I think that's a very powerful workflow that I see folks do. Awesome. Let's go back to our chat and let's do like a fun example that I saw. Okay, dashboards, web app, mobile app. Yeah, it can be anything. File approval request feature. I like that. Let's do file approval request feature. Congratulations, the winning pick here. So let's do it live here together. And so I'm just going to go back to my dashboard. And so you'll see, again, folks, for those of you that have never seen Magic Patterns or tools like this before, you'll see that I can just go ahead and prompt that. Now, do you want to get into some best practices? Again, kind of what Marcus was sharing earlier. The prompt is very powerful. It is, a lot of people about 2 years ago, there was this term thrown around called prompt engineering, right? Have people heard of that before? Yeah, it was a big joke in the community. People were like, oh, prompt engineering, like that's not a real thing. I can tell you 2 years later, tens of thousands of customers that I've spoken to later, it is very much a thing. And so this is wonderful for the chat because it got us started. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I want to share how, as Marcus was sharing, one thing we can do is enhance the prompt. And so we have a built-in feature here where we're going to go ahead and hit an AI model to get ideas, right? In this instance, we basically tell it, how could I flesh out this prompt? In this case, it's adding a bit more detail. Now, most folks, right, they might have a Jira ticket or a user story directly from a user, and they'll paste that into the context. But for folks that are brainstorming new ideas or just building something for the first time, I really encourage you to use AI to like flesh out your prompts. This is something we've seen from power users where they will use ChatGPT and like interact with ChatGPT, 5 times in a row to really like be sure of the prompt that they want to send into a tool like Magic Patterns. And so of course we added, a feature like that directly called Enhanced Prompt, but I just share it because I think using AI to flesh out your prompts is a really important takeaway no matter what tool you're using. Awesome. As this just kind of loads here, folks, feel free to send any messages in the chat if you have any questions, or even feel free to chime in. I'm going to pass it back to Marcus pretty soon in about 5 minutes. But please, if you have any questions as this just kind of loads here, I'm going to take a look.
Yeah, Alex, while we
Yes,
wait
please.
for it to load, what are some do's and don'ts when it comes to magic patterns?
Yes, the biggest thing again is prompting. Like I can't emphasize that enough. We obviously do lots of training sessions with our customers and best practices sessions, and like I can't, I don't know how else to say it other than learning how to prompt is a very important skill. I think I do not think like the chat interface is going away anytime soon with any of these tools. There's a lot of talk in the space of like, well, is this really the final way of how we're going to talk to these AI tools? And I think, at the end of the day, like they're large language models, right? They read and write text ultimately. That's why they're so good at writing code. And so I really do encourage, as a just demonstration here, if I click on my profile picture and you go to documentation and then you go to how to prompt, folks, I'll be honest with you, this applies to any tool. This is not like magic pattern specific, right? And you'll see one of the biggest tips we mentioned is being specific, attaching screenshots when you're creating it for the first time. What I just mentioned, use ChatGPT to generate a prompt for you. Now, of course, we have features to help you be specific, right? Select mode and things like that. Commands, I won't get into that right now, but I hope this is a demonstration of sharing, no matter what tool you use, look at what features they have to help you prompt effectively. Awesome. So now we have this file approvals dashboard. So again, what are some things I can do here? I can, enable feedback, right? One other feature, speaking about commands that I commonly see people do as a way to kind of, spar with the AI, as Marcus was saying, we have a command called discuss, where this actually will not generate any code, but this is a way for me to kind of think about like, hey, what should my next prompt be? What are some things I can improve? So I commonly see like, what are some edge cases I might run into? And before I send that, another like really big tip I have for folks, interact with it, right? I kind of jumped into it because we're here live on the webinar, but when you get a response back, think about, okay, like what did it make me? Is this on the nose? Is this correct, right? Does this work? Okay, the filtering works. Do I want this filter button to work? I'm like interacting with it for the first time myself. Does approve work? Okay, this modal approve file. Okay, cool. So then at this point I might say then, okay, discuss what my edge cases do I run into. That filter icon does not do anything. Is it supposed to be, illustrative, or should we, make it interactive, right? And we're going to see what the AI says here. And again, to get really practical here, folks, another big tip I have, no matter what AI tool you're using, read the output. It is, unfortunately not that surprising, but very common that folks sometimes don't read the output, right? Now, the output, why is that helpful? Well, it really gives you insight into what the AI is thinking, right? So, in this instance, obviously this is an instance where, the output is exactly what I want to read, right? But even up here, I can get a sense of, oh, it says it includes summary count, status filters, expandable file cards. And I just really encourage you, it's shocking to me, like how much insight is given in this kind of chat, and folks just kind of ignoring it because maybe they're frustrated, and they're just like, prompting really quickly. Awesome. So cool. We have some ideas here. No undo. That's kind of interesting, right? Referencing Gmails. I think that's a pretty unique thing here too, is because of the training data, right? These is using Anthropic model and OpenAI. They, under the hood, they just have a ton of training data on like what do most web interfaces look like, right? Now the danger is, of course, they're not very creative. If you want to do something unique, that requires the human touch and your own customer insights for your product, right? But it is a nice way to kind of get insights on, okay, what are the web standards? Awesome. I'm going to pause there. Any questions? I'm just going to reference the chat or anything from you, Marcus, before I hand it back. I see.
Yeah, any questions from the audience? And
I
thanks a
do.
ton, Alex.
Of
That was
course,
great.
yeah. I do see one question from the chat, also from an Alexander. Great to meet you. That is my name as well. I have a SaaS idea built in Magic Patterns I want to test. Ideas to validate without any existing customers. Yes. So, you know, all startups have this problem, right? We were once a very small startup, and when you have no users, how do you, get ideas, right? I think that is one of the magic of tools like these, where it is a website directly. I mean, it is so easy to share a website URL. I would encourage you, share it with your friends, post on LinkedIn, post on Twitter. If you ever post about magic patterns on Twitter, you are very, very likely to get a repost or a like from me. We love it when obviously when customers share stuff. But I just share that to say, like, I think some people get bogged down where they think, oh, I don't have anybody to share this to. But it's like, you can get feedback from anybody in the earliest days. And then as that happens, you can refine your approach, right? I mean, if I'm building a file approvals dashboard, my mom, who's a TV reporter, she's never seen an interface like this in her life, right? She's not a customer of this tool. Her feedback probably is not something I should take too seriously, but I think it is important, like in the earliest days, to think about just anybody in your network use social media, as a tool too.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Relating to that question, so maybe this could be useful to think about the skin in the game points. So this is from 𝘬𝘩𝘪𝘴, the author of the Write It. So opinions, the like great idea, or no one will buy this product, or encouragement or discouragement, go for it, or survey, polls, interviews. They will not give you a lot of points, right? So what you want to get, if you want to validate a new idea to understand if this is valuable to the user or the customer, you want to get validated email addresses. Give us your email to receive updates about the product when it's launching, right? That will get you some points. Or a validated phone number. Give us your phone number to receive updates about the product. Or time commitment. Come to a 30-minute product demonstration. Then they're spending time to get to know you, to understand your situation and your product. So the more points you get is when they have skin in the game. So they're putting money towards buying your product. So think about how many skin in the game points are you going to receive from validating your product ideas. And relating to validation, so validation, you could do that in the building. So you can validate something in your team. So you put together a Vibe prototype using magic patterns, and you show that to someone in the team to get feedback, or someone outside the team, customer service, right? To get some ideas and feedback. And then outside the building, a customer, a few customers, many customers, all customers. And the more you go on the right, you become automated in terms of the product. So think about validation not as something binary. It's a spectrum of going from something in the team to outside the building. And rule number one, if you think about this, rule number one when it comes to validating new startup ideas or feature ideas in your current organization, there are no facts inside the building. So you need to go outside and talk to customers. So you can't outsource empathy to AI. That's a big idea. You need to talk to customers because you are experts at humans and understanding the idiosyncrasies, the nuances in humans. And that skill will become more and more and more important as we start really leveraging AI tools in product development. And relating to Alex, what you talked about when it comes to prompting, so giving rich context to the AI to get good output. Here's an example of a prompt that you could use. So a product overview. So this is a simple roadmap tool talking about the target customer, their problems to be solved in the form of quotes. People only want to see features. I need a way to show outcomes behind them. Some product requirements, user experience guidance, critical tasks, aesthetic, data model, tech stack guidance. So you could leverage what you have as a tech stack right now, and additional nodes. And if you put this into magic patterns, you will give rich content and you will put together that is rich in functionality that you could test in a matter of hours. All right. In the Miro board, you also have a cheat sheet when it comes to validation techniques. So validating the problem to solve. So there are many different techniques that you can use to validate you're solving the right problem for your users and customers, and also validating the right solution. So there are many different techniques that you can use to test and learn and tweak. Because what's the essence of product discovery? We talked about this in the beginning. The purpose of product discovery is to learn as much as possible whether you're building the right thing and to do it cheaply and fast. So now you have the opportunity to prototype fast by using tools like magic patterns. And speaking of which, Alex, you can use the code Marcus to get 1 month free to try magic patterns and test prototypes with your users and customers. And feel free to let Alex and I know how things are progressing with your prototyping and your product discovery efforts.